My name's J.C. McCauley.
I'm Nichelle McCauley, and you're watching AccessTV.org. Good evening, everyone. If you can hear me, clap your hands. All right. I like how that works. That's fun. So you get to do the welcome. Okay. Well, you all are very lucky because the ticket sold out before we sold a ticket, and yet you are here. So thank you. Thank you all for coming. You are here because of the fantastic work you do. I know a lot of people like to talk about what the Voices do politically, but if you open a book and see Voices by the number, you will recognize that the politics is a small part of what we do and the least favorite part of what we do, and yet you all are still here. So thank you. Clap for yourselves because you all are fantastic. And so tonight, if you've been to a Voices event, you know that we keep a tight agenda. And you know we get you to the end of the party in which we will start dancing, so hang around so we can remove the tables. But we just want to welcome you all to Hartford. We have folks here from Bridgeport, Middletown, Meriden. Welcome you all. New Haven, thank you all for coming. And let's have fun tonight. Ready, Andrea? I'm ready. All right. Okay. So this is sort of the order of business. We're going to have our Reverend come and provide an invocation. And then, are we going to do dinner? Are we ready? All right. So we are going to have him bless the food and bless this wonderful group of people. And then we will call your table number. Please wait for your table number to be called. Please. And then, while you are getting your food, I'll acknowledge elected officials, and hopefully you'll hear me, but maybe not. We'll see. Where's Reverend Massey? Reverend Massey, Hopewell Baptist Church. Hi, Pastor.
Might we bow our heads together? Our Father and our God, we thank you for this great occasion that brings us together, an occasion that allows us to hear the voices of those who speak for the voiceless, voices of those who deal with the issues of our time, voices of those who speak truth to power, voices of those that are heard throughout our communities. We pray that you bless them and bless us in this gala gathering. Bless the food. Let it nourish our bodies as your word does our souls. In thy holy and righteous name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Okay, so we're going to have table 1 get served, and then we will start calling tables to come up. So please serve the table 1. Oh, wait. While we're getting the dinner stuff squared away, I'm going to read this list that I hope is right. And if I miss anybody, you can charge it to my head and not my heart. Is former State Senator Sandy Cloud in the building? No. Okay. Well, we love him anyway. Is State Representative Bobby Gibson here? No. Well, all right. Is Councilman Julio Concepcion in the building? Yay! We have a winner. Is former City Councilman Alex Aponte here?
Is candidate for State Treasurer Arunan Arulampalam here? All right. Is State Representative Brandon McGee here? Is Councilperson Larry Deutsch here? That's because he was here yesterday.
Yes. He had the wrong thing.
Is Councilwoman Cynthia Jennings here? Okay. Councilwoman Arjo Wench? Councilman Jimmy Sanchez? State Senator Doug McCrory? I know he's here. Former State Senator Eric Coleman, is he here? Okay. Is Registrar of Voters Giselle Feliciano here? Is Vice Chair of the New Haven Democratic Town Committee Jackie James here? Is Vice Chair of the Democratic Town Committee Jean Holloway here?
Hi, Jeannie.
Former State Treasurer Joe Suggs? I know he's here, I saw him. He's on his phone. Congressman John Larson is here.
Of course.
Democratic Town Chair Mark DeBella. Is former State Representative Marie Lopez Kirkley Bay here? Okay, I know her name was on the list. Is our Majority Leader Matt Ritter here? I know he's here. I saw him too, somewhere. Hartford Mayor Luke Bronin. And candidate for governor is Fire Chief Reggie Freeman here. He's also director of the Department of Public Works, so y'all could clap for him twice. That's a hard job. Representative Robyn Porter is here. Former Council President and candidate for State Treasurer Sean Wooden is here. Hartford City Council President Thomas Clark. Hartford Board of Education member Aisha Clark. Hartford Board of Education member Juan Hernandez. Is Chris Matty here? Okay. And last but not least, the first Black female probate judge, Miss Boy Smith. Oh, of course not.
We ain't gonna forget you.
And so last, not but not least, City Treasurer Adam Cloud. I'm so sorry.
Adam, like once we said Sandy Cloud, it kind of got clouded. Sorry, you know you my boy.
So, oh, that's why. Okay, I'm sorry. Kenneth McCleary from Bloomfield. Is there anybody else I forgot? Okay, good.
Good.
Good. Good. I always forget somebody though.
I
You
do
ever
too.
notice that?
It's okay.
I always forget somebody. Okay. And I write it down.
All right.
Okay.
So now
Now.
are we moving into?
Now we're gonna start. Oh, Police Chief David Rosario. I'm so sorry, please. Rosado. I'm sorry. Please stand up. He's the police chief. His name wasn't on the list either. I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Oh, former Senator Barrows is here. Okay. So before the food gets cold, how about everybody just give yourself a hand?
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I do business as Light Source Productions. I provide professional services in the area of strategic video communications. First, what we do is we help you craft your message using what I call the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. We do event documentation, content acquisition, full-scale productions, editing, and of course distribution through our social media television network. And with social media, video is more important now than it has ever been. Whether you're talking big business, small business, nonprofit, church, or just an individual. Let's say you plan you're planning an event, a wedding, whatever the case may be. But let's say a big event, but no video. And you spent all this time, all these hours to put this event on, and maybe 100, 200 people attend the event. But more important than that is that thousands could attend by watching it on social media. But of course, you don't think about this until after the event is over. You can't afford not to capture it for social media. And despite what people think, I am affordable. Give me a call. Let's plan your next video project and share it with the world on my social media television network. I promise you that you will have the attention of one person, me.
If you can hear me, clap your hands. Okay. That's fabulous. And if we can just kind of have a seat, I know you want to mingle. Carmen, por favor. Carmen, por favor, siéntate. Porfa. Now you can just say porfa. Yes. Thank you all for being here, and we're going to go right into the fun part of the evening. And this is our award presentations. So our first honoree is Nichelle Mullins, who is the CEO of Charter Oak Health Center. She is our Health Trailblazer this year for 2018. As many of you know, public health is one of our focuses in our mission. Ms. Mullins, can we have you up here, please?
Good evening, everyone. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much to the Voices of Women of Color for nominating me for this tremendous recognition. I appreciate and I am deeply honored by the mission of this movement and the women who founded it, who decided that it was time to uncover, activate, encourage, and support women in leadership, community activism, and politics. Women who decided to do something different. I would not be standing here without the examples of strong women of color who, like the Honorable Maxine Waters, refused to be silent or sidelined by individuals who were and are intimidated by our strength. I am proud to be among a cast of women who are the current and future leaders, who are trailblazers and radical change agents, who are not moved by custom or tradition or old ways of doing things, though we respect them still the same, who are tired of the good old boys network and have instead decided to embrace the power of our God-given femininity and ruffle some feathers, knock down some doors, flip some tables, all while wearing a dress and holding a pretty smile. This example is what I am teaching and showing my daughters and the next generation of girls of color who are watching me. So thank you to Mrs. Hardy, the board of directors and staff at Charter Oak Health Center for trusting me to serve the community. I am merely a little black girl from Hartford who grew up on 62 Dillon Road, apartment B1 in Westbrook Village, and then on Edgewood Street in Hartford, who dared to dream that I could be a lawyer or the commissioner of the NFL one day. But God had other plans, and he honored my ambition nonetheless. And I am grateful that he has chosen me for this work, a work in which I have only begun to scrape the surface. To my parents and my sister and friends who are here, thank you for your love and support and encouragement. And to my dear husband, Justice Raheem Mullins of the Connecticut Supreme Court, the youngest ever to be appointed. You are everything I could have asked for in a spouse. You are my soulmate, my best friend, my biggest supporter, my mirror of truth, and my most trusted source. You have helped me understand the value of unconditional love, relationship, forgiveness, and how to embrace the power in being completely feminine, transparent, vulnerable, and honestly me. Thank you to everyone. Thank you, Ms. Fleming, and God bless you all.
Let's give another round of applause for this dope queen. And speaking of dope queens, so I can't even remember when I met this woman, but I know that when I met her, something just clicked. I call it the New York thing. I figured it must be a New York thing, but she is, and it's funny because that she's getting honored this year when we have Auntie Maxine here, because they call her the Maxine of New Haven. So, her heart is so big for her community. She is a powerhouse. She is a force to be reckoned with. And I am so proud to call her my friend and sister. Representative Robyn Porter, come on up here.
Well, hello, everyone. How y'all doing? Wow, look at this. I mean, a full house. Well, I tell you what, thank you, first of all. Thank you for the honor and for the recognition. I tell you, I would have never have imagined in a million years that I would be standing at this podium as State Representative Robyn A. Porter. Wasn't on my wish list, wasn't on my dream list. I didn't like politicians, I didn't trust them, didn't want nothing to do with this game. I really didn't. But I got called. You know, they say many are called, but few are chosen. I was chosen. And I do this because of my passion for people and my love for community. So the fact that my people, this is what makes this most special. My people have recognized me, the people that I go to that State House to fight for. And don't get it twisted. I fight for all my constituents. But I fight especially hard for the ones that look like me. Because I am sick and tired of us getting left behind and getting left out. I'm sick and tired of people taking our lunch. Hell, they taking the whole meal now. And I take it very seriously being there to represent the issues that impact Black and brown communities, because it is important that we have a voice. You know, I was reminded yesterday when I complained about not being on the Fiscal Responsibility Commission that they had Black and brown faces on there. And you know what my response was? Just because you have Black faces at the table don't mean you have Black voices at the table. And if you really wanted to have a Black voice at the table, you should have had me. That's all I'm saying, because I'm going to stand in my truth and I'm going to represent my people on the strength. And I am so very humbled every single day. The love that I get from my beloved community, and I count Hartford as part of that beloved community. And I thank you so much for lifting me up like this, because this truly is the wind beneath my wings, because there's days when I want to walk away and don't look back. But I know that's not an option because I was chosen and my job has not been completed yet. So I'm running for re-election. I will be running to be back in the State House as State Representative of the 94th District, and I promise you that I will continue to fight with everything I have in me to make sure that what needs to happen for us happens for us. It is not an option. It is an honor and a blessing to be in the same room with you, Honorable Maxine Waters. My God. Just when you thought life was good, it gets better. And for everybody in this room, I know that being in this room with this magnificent, phenomenal queen is the icing on the cake, so I'm gonna claim the cherry on top, because that's what it is for me. And I truly mean that. And before I close, I must give honor to the root of my tree, my mother, Marilyn Porter. Without her, there would be no me. So what you see is a manifestation of everything that she has poured into me, and I thank you for that. I thank you for being my rock, and my Irish twin over there, my sister. We're 10 months apart. So for 2 months, every year, we're the same age. May 5th, July 1st. I'm gonna leave that one right there. But I just want to give them a special thank you because no matter what, these two right here always show up for me. So I love you and I thank you and I pay homage to you. And I have accepted an award on your behalf. So this award goes to my sister Tracy Porter. I love you and thank you for always being there for me. Always being there for me. Through thick and thin, you've been my rock. And I thank you and I love you for that. And I thank all of you for doing what you do. We need you. Let's get it together. Let's get it right. Let's operate as a collective. Let's stop this in-house stuff that we do. And let's come together as the beloved community and the village that I remember growing up in as a young girl. We need to get back to the basics. We need to get back to the basics so that we can not only reclaim our voice and reclaim our time, but just get our stuff back. Because there's a whole lot of stuff that's been taken away from us, and it's time to get it back, y'all. I say 2018 is our year to get our stuff back. So thank you, and God bless you all.
Your turn. Hi, Mr. Sandy. How are you? Glad you're here. Okay, now we all need to feel safe sometime. Oh, where are we? Oh. Well, I feel real honored to be doing this next one because if anybody know me, they know that I really wanted Leslie Torres-Rodriguez to be the superintendent of the city of Hartford. When I heard she was running, and heard where she was from, and heard her age, something about her made me feel as if I had known her already. And it's probably because we come from the same place and have some of the same struggles, and the idea that a sister from Park Street, with all of the stuff we had, is now the superintendent of the city of Hartford and connecting parents and doing the hard work. It is such an honor, Dr. Torres-Rodriguez, to be in your presence. Please come join us.
Thank you for such beautiful words. Good evening, everyone. Thank you to the Voices of Women of Color for this humbling recognition. Tonight's theme, reclaiming our voices, and your mission as an organization resonates and aligns with who I am as a woman of color, a Latina, and as a leader. When I think about some of the experiences that I've had throughout my life, there were many during which I wondered if I even had a voice. Many, many times I thought I didn't have a voice. So let's think of a few. So for me, I migrated to this country from Puerto Rico at the age of 9, my mother and my brother and I. And yes, we moved to Park Street. And you know, the fact that I couldn't access English, the English language, many of times, though I knew back in my mind that I did have the capacity to excel at a high level, I just couldn't access the language. Hence, I really did believe that I did not have a voice. There were many other instances. My mother, a single mother, worked 2 jobs. She couldn't access and advocate for my education. She could not access and leverage her voice to advocate for the quality education that I deserved. Those are some of the examples as a child. You know, living on Park Street and then a few blocks away on Nelson Street. Through the years, I knew that I wanted, desperately wanted, a way out of poverty. And the only way to get there was through an education. Many other times as an adult, I had to work extra hard, right? Because we're doubted oftentimes as women and as women of color. So we have to make sure that we check all those boxes, right? That we have the education, right? That we have the advanced degree, that we have the doctoral degree. Because still after that, our knowledge base, our skills, and our dispositions are still questioned because of our race, because of our disenfranchised upbringing, and because of our gender. And so every day, as I step into my role as a superintendent, and I serve on behalf of the most beautiful and capable students, Hartford students, I do so and I step into that role knowing that my job is to make sure that they have access to quality education so that they can too find and leverage their voices each and every day, so that they can be here someday, standing, becoming a superintendent, becoming a senator, becoming a chief, whatever it is. Don't doubt our students. Give us a chance. Let us work together to provide the conditions. So I'm thanking you. I'm thanking our Board of Education. I see some of them here for their leadership. Mayor Brown and other elected officials for supporting not just me, but what it is that I stand for. High quality, equity, and access for all of our students. I'm going to close by thanking a wonderful human being. So behind me, this persistent, passionate, and oftentimes intense, as I'm described at times, behind this woman is an amazing man. My husband, Nick Rodriguez, who every day Papi, you know, you've not only do you feed me and our boys, you feed my soul, and you feed my spirit every day. And so I am so humbled to be your wife, and I cannot wait to see what else we can do together. Gracias y te amo, papi. Thank you.
Give it up one more time for our superintendent. So as I was doing the research to figure out who our honorees were going to be. I Googled Connecticut Trailblazer because we knew sort of who we wanted to acknowledge, but then we were like, public safety, public safety. So I Googled Connecticut and I Googled Trailblazer, and Regina Rush-Kittle's name came up. So there's that. And as I read through her bio, it's like, I look forward to a day when we don't have to talk about firsts, right? The first Black woman to do this, that, and the other. But the number of firsts that this woman has achieved, and you can see it in the bio, I won't read it for you, I know you can all read, reading is fundamental. but I was just so inspired and so humbled by everything that she has accomplished. And then I got to talk to her, and I was like, oh, she's just a regular chick. That's so cool. So it is my honor and pleasure to welcome to the stage Regina Rush-Kittle. Come get your award.
Good evening. I am honored to be here this evening and would like to acknowledge and thank our Congresswoman, Maxine, our dignitaries, my fellow Trailblazers as honorees, and all of you for taking the time to attend this evening's ceremony. My dual careers, multiple academies, training, professional development, and overseas deployments have been a challenge. As a trooper, soldier, wife, and mother, and at one point, a graduate student, all at the same time, that equates to multitasking at its highest level. And that could have not been achieved without the support of my husband, William. I have a husband who realized that I would always strive to reach for the stars, and he did not hesitate to allow me to try. Wives may often say, I'm going shopping. And the response is, okay. I said, I'm going with the Army to Afghanistan. And the response was, okay. And while I'm there, amongst the multitude of other things that I'll be dealing with, I'm going to figure out how to go shopping. And the response was, okay. So just going off a little bit of what I had written down, that experience, serving as a soldier and a trooper at the same time, was a tremendous experience. But my selection to serve within the Army to a battalion that was going to war, and to be selected by 2 white males to be the 3rd member of an all-female combat team, a white female, an Hispanic female, and a black female, to take 274 soldiers to combat, was truly an honor. And with that, I would like to say, I wish every job, department, position, selection for those positions were similar to my experience. Because where in the world, probably other than the military or all-female organization, do you find somewhere where the top 3 are women? So think about that. So now I'll go back on to what I had prepared. So to my husband, William, and to our children, Jarrell and Gianna, thank you for your perseverance, resilience, independent spirits, and unconditional love, no matter the distance which separated us throughout our years as a family. And I'd like to thank my sister and her family for their continued support and for traveling numerous times to attend my graduations, promotions, and recognition ceremonies. In November 2018, I had the honor of being inducted into the Connecticut Women's Hall of Fame, and had the opportunity to thank the organization for the work, commitment, and dedicated efforts to ensure that women and women of color are not left out of our history and become hidden figures, such as those women highlighted in the 2018 film by the same name. So tonight, I am proud to also acknowledge and thank the Voices of Women of Color as an organization that strives to ensure that within our communities, women of color will never be hidden figures. I am truly grateful to be recognized this evening, and once again, thank you all for honoring us with your presence. Good evening.
All right, okay, that's always fun.
So I venture to guess that this is the moment that some of you have been waiting for.
Yes?
Think so?
No, sir.
Should we draw it out?
Draw it out.
No, we're not gonna do that.
No,
So Auntie
let-
Maxine is like, listen.
Yes. So, many years ago, Congressman Larson had tasked his staff to get the Black Caucus ready to come into town. And there was a good friend of mine, and she's still a friend of mine, Eva Bonnell, who was working there, and say, hey, Janice, I'm putting together this thing for the Black Caucus for Congressman Larson. Would you like to help? And I'm like, sure. But wait, is Maxine Waters gonna be there? Now this back in the day before y'all, reclaiming our time. This is way back. So she said, yes. I was like, I'll be honored. And when she came, and it was at the Artist Collective, and we had fun. And I was like, one day, I'm gonna bring her back here myself. I was 24, I'm 44. We have Congresswoman Maxine Waters here tonight. And without further ado, Congresswoman Maxine Waters.
Good evening, everyone. I am so delighted and honored to be here with you this evening, and I've enjoyed watching all of you as you have been going from table to table, networking, enjoying each other, having a good time, and that's what community is supposed to be about. Give yourselves a big round of applause. Also, I'd like to thank all of the elected officials, all of the community leaders who are here this evening. You did not have to come. I know that there are plenty other things to do, if nothing more than just relax and have a decent time with your family. Thank you for coming. Give all of our elected officials a big round of applause. I really must thank Janice Fleming Butler and Andrea Comer for the wonderful introduction, and I'm thrilled to be back here in Connecticut. And I must say, being here brings back a lot of memories for when I was last in Connecticut. There were 2 times I was here that were very special, and one had to do with Congressman Larson and what you just heard described about getting the Black Caucus here. And the other was when I was here meddling in you all's business, supporting Ned Lamont. And I can recall coming here every day, every weekend, I think, for maybe 5 or 6 weeks. And I think that Senator Lieberman has never forgiven me for that. And I want you to know it was the first time that I'd ever been in a campaign where my candidate won the primary and then have his campaign just fall apart. Have the opposition run as an independent and wipe him out. A wonderful experience, but I had the opportunity to visit many areas in the district. And I was very, very pleased because I had an opportunity to go to so many AME churches. And I suppose I was in New Haven along with Reverend Jesse Jackson and a lot of other folks. It was Scott Esdow, who was the president of the NAACP. And I want you to know that they got me into Hell's Diner. And I have the distinction of being the only woman they let behind the bar. At least that's what they told me. And so, again, I'm very deeply honored to be here and to accept this award from the voices of women of color and to be among the company of such extraordinary women. I sat here and I listened to the other honorees, magnificent, talented, committed. And I want to tell you, looking at these women this evening should help us all to understand we can do whatever we want to do. Give them a big round of applause. I want to commend the voices of women of color for having a board of directors who is dedicated to empowering women through ongoing programs and training sessions that are essential in cultivating new leadership within the community. And I also would like to commend the 4 women in a very special way who were presented here this evening, not only saying to you how wonderful they were, but I want you to know that you have the responsibility to see to it that you mentor and you support other women and you bring them along so they can be just like you. Give them a big round of applause. Well, again, in appreciating the very important work that is done by this organization, I want you to know that not only do I understand, as I have been told and I've taken a look at the ongoing programs and the training sessions that they're involved in. These training sessions are essential, again, in cultivating this leadership. And I want you to know that I don't want you to stop doing what you're doing. I am very pleased that you're honoring me here this evening. And I'm very pleased that you've been going on now for what, 11 or 12 years almost? And I expect you to go on for another 100 years, okay? So don't stop doing what you're doing. And thank you for the attention that you have given to me. She picked me up at the airport early this morning. And while I'm thanking folks, let me thank Congressman John Larson. You know, I know that I had received the invitation, and of course I was thinking about the times I'd been here. But he did not let me forget I had gotten the invitation. And so, you know, he hangs out in a corner of the floor. And I have to pass that corner, getting down to vote. And of course, he would stop me every time I passed and said, "Have you confirmed yet? Did you call yet? I know you're coming. What do I need to do?" He did this every day until I got sick and tired of him. And I said to my staff, "Okay, I want to do it. Would you please call and confirm so John Larson doesn't bug me anymore?" Give him a big round of applause. You know, John Larson is a serious public policy maker. And I just wanted to remind you, because sometimes when you work closely with the community, they take you for granted. And they just think, you know, that's what he's supposed to do, that's what he's doing. I don't quite know what he's doing, but I guess he's doing something good. Let me just remind you of a few things. Social Security 2100 Act, HR 1902. As the lead Democrat on the Ways and Means Social Security Subcommittee, Representative Larson has emphasized that Social Security is not an entitlement, it's the insurance Americans have paid for. His legislation would cut taxes for Social Security recipients, provide a benefit bump for current and future beneficiaries, create a more generous COLA, and keep the system solvent through the end of the century. Give him a round of applause for that. There are so many other things. The Action for National Science, H.R. 3140, America Wins Act, H.R. 4209. I heard a lot about this tunnel today. And so here's something about Hartford, Connecticut, 184-191 tunnel proposal. This is Rep. Larson's top district infrastructure project. 184 and 191 converge in Hartford, Connecticut to form the busiest interchange in the state, carrying 275,000 vehicles per day. And the highway system constructed in the 1960s suffers from severe traffic congestion. It divides neighborhoods and separates the city from riverfront access and on and on and on. And I want you to know, as soon as we get rid of Trump and we take back our house, we're gonna get us a tunnel. We're gonna get us a tunnel. So you may be thinking about some of the other things that I'm thinking about, the reason we should be getting rid of them. But I'm going to tell all of my colleagues, don't worry about obstruction of justice. Don't worry about collusion. Larson just wants a tunnel. And so he works hard. He is one of the friendliest guys on the floor. And he told a little story earlier today when we were together about somebody named Grant Green, which you've never heard of. Grant Green was a fantastic guitarist, a fantastic person who played home on the range when we were in grade school and turned out to be one of the most fantastic jazz persons in the country. Now, he knows more about Grant and other black jazz people and entertainers and performers than most of you know. And I want you to know he knows more Motown than I know. And so when he wants to get my attention, if I'm ignoring him, he starts singing. He can't sing, but he thinks he can. And so I want to thank you again for being here, but let me take time to commend the mayor and city council for their leadership and compassion for some of our most vulnerable citizens in time of need. I was delighted to learn that Mayor Brannan and Hartford banded together to provide assistance for Puerto Ricans arriving in Connecticut after the devastating hurricane that struck the island last year. Thank you so very much. And I also read in some of the Hartford area press that council members worked with community groups to gather supplies, that Hartford school officials set aside books and coats for new students, and that the city's Health Human Services Department helped connect people with agencies like the Salvation Army. Give them a round of applause. And I was also very pleased to learn that Hartford, like so many other cities and states, is moving forward with a plan of action to address climate change, despite the current administration's actions to withdraw the United States from the Paris Climate Agreement. That's leadership. Give them a round of applause. Despite the challenges we are confronted with Donald Trump in the White House, we are very fortunate to live during a time when the American public is finally beginning to understand the power and influence of black women. Donald Trump's disrespect for our community has galvanized black women who are now moved to action. Black women are showing their power and making the difference at the ballot box. We see with the election of Keisha Lance Bottoms to mayor of Atlanta. Vi Lyles, the first African-American female mayor in Charlotte. And LaToya Cantrell's election to mayor of New Orleans, that when Democrats take back state legislatures, governorships, and the United States House of Representatives in November, it will be because of and for the leadership of black women who led the way. A big round of applause. I thought about a lot of black women who have made tremendous contributions to this country and to our society. And I could talk about a lot of them. Of course, you know, I knew not only Barbara Jordan and Shirley Chisholm and all of those women, but I wanted to talk a little bit about Dorothy Height this evening. Black women have always been the glue that held this country together. Black women have historically taken on tremendous responsibilities, not only in our homes and our schools, in the church, and even within the homes of affluent, predominantly white females, where they served as nannies. The resilience and quiet strength of black women in the civil rights movement is best exemplified by the legendary Dorothy Height. Dorothy Height was considered the founding matriarch of the civil rights movement, whose advocacy for racial justice and women's rights spanned more than 6 decades. As president of the National Council of Negro Women for 40 years, Dorothy Height was probably the most influential woman at the top levels of the civil rights leadership. Although she never drew the national media attention that conferred celebrity and garnered her instant recognition like some of the other civil rights leaders of her time, Mrs. Height was often described as the glue that held the family of black civil rights leaders together. She did much of her work out of the public spotlight, in quiet meetings and conversations, and she was widely connected at the top levels of power and influence in government and business. As a civil rights activist, Ms. Height participated in protests in Harlem during the 1930s. In the 1940s, she lobbied First Lady Eleanor Roosevelt on behalf of civil rights causes. And in the 1950s, she prodded President Dwight D. Eisenhower to move more aggressively on school desegregation issues. Dorothy Height was also energetic in her efforts to overcome gender bias, and much of that work predated the women's rights movement. When President John F. Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act in 1963, Ms. Height was among those invited to the White House to witness the ceremony. She returned to the White House in 1998 for a ceremony marking the 35th anniversary of that legislation to hear Clinton urge passage of additional laws aimed at equalizing pay for men and women. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have black women in the Congress of the United States of America. There are about 23 of us, and I want you to know that we are indeed sisters. What do I mean when I talk about being sisters? I talk about being able to share experiences. I'm talking about being able to share the truth with each other. I'm talking about being able to talk about the good times and the bad times. I had an experience like that today right here in Hartford. I was with a woman who may be in the room right now, who came up to me and she said to me, "I want you to know that my son loves you." And when I told him that I was going to see you today, he said, "Please tell her that I love her and I'm thankful for her," and on and on and on. And then she said to me, he's in prison. And he's been there for 14 years. But he's excited about the fact that I'm here today with you. Now, why do I tell you that little story? It's because when a sister is able to come up to you not even knowing you and share with you something about her life that a lot of people would be trying to hide, you have to understand that sisterhood. That's sisterhood. And so, despite the fact that there have been, over the years, 41 black congresswomen elected to Congress since 1969, but as a result of their hard work and dedication over the past 4 decades, some women gained enough seniority to chair a committee or subcommittees, as well as serve among the Democratic Party CBC leadership. But despite those gains, roughly only about 11% of women elected or appointed to Congress have been African American. Only 2, that is the United States Senate. Carol Moseley Braun, remember her? And now, have you seen Kamala Harris? She came to Congress and she hit the ground running. And I want you to know these women are 2 of only 4 African Americans to ever serve in the Senate during the 20th century. But you know, looking at Kamala Harris and the way she's conducted herself since she's been there, and have you seen that look that she gives her colleagues when they step out of line a little bit? We're going to have a whole lot more sisters looking at folks like that in years to come. So give her a big round of applause. You know, in addition to representing our communities and, you know, representing literally African Americans, for example, all over the country, despite the fact that we are elected to districts, and representing the least of these for the most part, we pay a lot of attention to certain kinds of healthcare needs. For example, in all that I do, I am the co-chair of the Alzheimer's Caucus. And that's very important to me because I am watching and understanding what is happening in this country. And I also know that if we don't get a handle on Alzheimer's, we will never be able to pay for the cost of caring for Alzheimer's patients. It will be so exorbitant until we would not know what to do with all of the people who are going to be confronted with this disease. And besides, I want to tell you, you know, they talk about conflict of interest a lot in Washington. This work that I'm doing may be a little bit about a conflict of interest because I'm getting old, you all. I don't know what's going to happen. And every time I forget a key, I said, oh, is that it? And so not only do I care about what I'm witnessing, I do know that we have to invest more in research, and we did get some more money in research with this budget. I don't want to talk about the budget too much, but you know that the president threatened to veto the budget. You heard him, didn't you? Now, this was after he had said he was going to sign the budget. Is that right? And this is the president who's supposed to be expert at the art of the deal. Is that right? We cleaned his clock. We literally cleaned his clock. As a matter of fact, he was so focused on the defense budget until Nancy Pelosi and Schumer went in there. And we came out with some of everything. We got all of our community health clinics funded. I finally got a substantial increase in my beloved Head Start. We got more money for AIDS. We got more money for those of you in city government for CDBG, the Community Development Block Grant. You know, when he sent us his budget, he had zeroed it out, and I think we got over $300 million in this budget. And so when he saw the budget, which he had never seen, and if he had seen it, he couldn't read it anyway. He threatened not to sign it. He wanted to veto it, and he said, I shouldn't sign it. I'm never going to do this anymore. Well, didn't you know what was in the budget? And most of us didn't know everything because in the way that they processed it. Is that right, Congressman Larson? They didn't want us to see it. They didn't want us to know. But what we didn't know in the back room was they were getting hacked by Schumer and Nancy Pelosi. And so even though we didn't see it, we asked our staff to follow certain things. And everything that we asked them to follow, we were able to get. And do you know, even though they were going to do a big cut in head with that Ben Carson who doesn't know what he's doing, we got an increase in that budget. And I don't know whether or not it was because he didn't understand what was going on, maybe with some of the old timers in HUD that understood, you know, what the budget was all about, and they were working that budget. I think that he thinks that because he tried to pay that $31,000 for that table, that maybe if he had an opportunity to say please, he said please so that they won't come down on me so hard. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're in a very, very interesting time in this country. And I want you to know that I think it would be inappropriate and perhaps not correct for me to say it's an interesting time in the West Wing of the White House. It's more than that. This is the likes of which we've never seen before. And I don't care whether you're a Democrat or a Republican or independent or declined to state, you haven't seen anything like this one in the White House before. And so we're still wondering, how did he get elected? Where did it come from? And as I explained today when I was speaking with some of my friends here who were giving some extraordinary support for me, I had watched him very closely during his campaign. And I had decided that he was not deserving of the presidency, no matter what happened. I had never in my life seen an adult, and particularly one running for the highest office of the land, mimic and mock a disabled journalist. I'd never seen anything like that. And then, of course, I'd never heard anyone openly talk about grabbing women by their private parts and be on tape in doing it and not care. But that's okay, Stormy's gonna take care of him. And so he called all of his colleagues in the primary by all kind of nicknames. He called Hillary, Crooked Hillary, Little Rubio, on and on and on. And you know, I was in St. Louis at the last debate that he had with Hillary, where he literally shattered her, disrespected her space, breathed down her back, and she was so uncomfortable. She said she just didn't know what to do. She'd never been treated like that. And so she thought about it, and she thought about it, and she said, I wish I had said, get off my back, you scumbag. But of course, women don't do it like that. Women tend to be counseled into being very nice and ladylike. And so I am as ladylike as I can be sometimes. But I would not lie to you. I am not gonna take crap being ladylike from somebody like a Donald Trump. And so I am terribly offended by him. Not only have I never seen anything like him, this country deserves better than to have someone like Donald Trump occupying the White House. And when I think about it, I think about all of the sacrifices that so many people have made to make this democracy strong. I think about the fact that we in our communities believe in the Constitution that has not always worked for us. I think about those who have gone off into the armed services to protect us. And I can recall when the conversations were, they came back home and they didn't have a house to live in, couldn't get a job. But some of those same men, for the most part, during the day, they would come back and they would salute that American flag. And they would stand up for the work that they had done, serving this country and this nation. And you think we're gonna let somebody like Donald Trump walk in here and disrespect and disregard all of that? I don't think so. And if I'm the last one standing, I'm not going to stand for it. I knew when I learned who all of his allies and friends were, that he was colluding with Putin and the oligarchs of Russia. I knew that he had an alliance that was unseemly and something was wrong with it. And of course, someone reminded me here today that I had said, just follow the money. Follow the money. And let's just take a brief look, without going into a lot of details, why I and some others can think like that. When I found out that Flynn was one of his allies, and Manafort was one of his allies, and Wilbur Ross was one of his allies, and on and on and on, I said, what's the connection here? And then you could see what the connection was. They were all aligned in a way that would put them in touch with and working with not only Putin, but the oligarchs about oil, all about drilling into the Arctic. And I sincerely believe that the alliance, the connection, and the commitment from this president to Putin is he was going to lift those sanctions that were put on by Obama when they invaded Crimea. Remember when they went in and Obama put on the sanctions? Well, they want those sanctions lifted. And of course, our allies will not supply the equipment and all that they need to do the drilling, so they need those sanctions lifted. And I believe the only reason Tillerson was the Secretary of State was because of his relationship with Putin and because of Exxon and the deal that Exxon had made with Putin and Russia. Now, I think that our special counsel, Mueller, is going to connect the dots. I think that he's going to get there. This president is worried to death. If he is so innocent as he says he is, let the investigations go on. Because if you're innocent, you will be proven to be innocent. But if you've got something to hide, you'll do what he's doing and you'll just fire everybody. Have you ever seen such turnover in all of your life in the White House? Have you seen a president who would not only fire the person that was responsible for the investigation, but this president sat in the White House with representatives from the foreign affairs person from Russia, and I think with the ambassador, and gave them classified information to the point where Israel was so upset because they had supplied us with information. And you don't reveal classified information because you put people's lives on the line. But he did that. So Mueller has a responsibility and a job, and he's doing a good job. He is cool. He's one of the coolest cats I've ever seen. He doesn't have any leaks, and he keeps going no matter what. And you know, this president likes to threaten. And so he's threatening in so many ways that he's going to get rid of Mueller. But even a few Republicans have said that will be crossing the line. And if you do, they don't quite say it like this, but this is what they mean. I'm going to join with Maxine and call for your impeachment. And so I want to just share with you a few other things that I think about this president and his policies. And the reason that I'm going to do this is because I want you to know how very serious I am. Of course, I want to talk about the deplorable Trump. I have traveled all across the country last year, and I have to tell you the American people have had it with Donald Trump. From New Hampshire to Texas to Alabama, to Louisiana to Georgia to New Jersey, to South Carolina and Detroit, everyone is exhausted by the daily scandals, the offensive tweets, and the nonstop meltdowns. Every morning you can wake up to a new scandal, a new something that he has done. While of course, all of these national invitations involve, at least in part, my addressing serious issues concerning the federal budget, legislation pending in Congress, and my work on the Financial Services Committee, the part of my remarks that generate the most response are when I start to explain why Donald Trump does not deserve to be the President of the United States. You cannot underestimate how many people were utterly devastated by the election of Donald Trump, as I was. I've been very clear about my opposition again to this president, who I believe is one of the most dishonorable, deceitful, and despicable people I've ever seen hold public office. And I believe that there are many, if not most Americans, who feel as I do about Donald Trump. He has undermined the rule of law. He has isolated the United States and decimated our country's standing and leadership around the world. He has empowered and emboldened white nationalists, racists, criminals, and con men. He flew to Puerto Rico after the island was ravaged by a hurricane, insulted San Juan's mayor, and proceeded to throw paper towels at our fellow Americans who are to this day still trying to recover from that storm. He endorsed a pedophile that ran for the United States Senate and defended a wife beater on his White House staff. He lies on a daily basis, and for all of the people and institutions he has insulted over the last 2 years, the only person he will not offend or criticize is Vladimir Putin, a brutal dictator who does not share our nation's interests around the world. You think he does not need to be impeached? I think so. Of course, none of this should surprise any of us because Donald Trump revealed and showed us who he was all throughout the campaign, as I mentioned. This man continued to lie and brag. And this is a man who said Mexican immigrants living in the United States are all rapists, killers. He's implied that all Muslims are terrorists. And he has said that all African Americans live in hell. This is a man who insulted Gold Star families, a man that demeaned women, a man that has over a dozen allegations of sexual harassment and assault against him, a man who has cheated contractors, a man who has defrauded students through Trump University, a man that said a federal judge could not be fair in one of his cases because he's Mexican, a man who stalked again Hillary Clinton during the St. Louis presidential debate, continues today to call her crooked and says that she should be in jail. And remember what Flynn did? He created lock her up. And now that he's been caught and he's pleaded guilty, I'm saying lock him up, lock him up, lock him up. So, I know you heard about what he's done recently when he began to attack me. He said, you seen that woman? You seen that woman? She's low IQ. And I'm saying, what took you so long to attack me? We've been waiting, and we expected that you would do that because you attacked everybody. But here's a man that's attacking me about saying low IQ. Have you ever seen his spelling that he does when he tweets? Have you ever seen him construct a legitimate paragraph when he's trying to write? And you know he does not read anything. And so he has conned his way all of his life. Born with a silver spoon in his mouth, given his first $1 million by his daddy, and went on to figure out how you can cheat everybody else. Does not pay contractors, tells them sue me, because he can outlive them in court. And again, I mentioned Trump University. He talks about fake this and fake that. That was fake Trump University, where he had young people believing that he was going to teach them real estate and development and all of that. And so we finally did get a settlement out of that with the New York Attorney General for $25 million. And I consistently say it should have been a lot more than that. But, you know, we have to live with this every day, and we don't know what's happening from day to day. And I am so disappointed in those Republicans who claim to be so patriotic. You know, the Republicans, and the more conservative they are, they talk about they waved their flag higher, they saluted better, and they dismiss the fact of our service and our sacrifices to this country. But look at them now. They are not speaking up. They're not standing against, they're not criticizing this president because they're intimidated by him. They're wimps. They're afraid of him. And it's not about him. This is about country. This is about the sacrifices that so many people have made in order to strengthen this democracy and make it a better place for everyone to live. But, you know, we have to be a little bit patient. And I believe in Mueller. I believe that he is connecting the dots. And I believe that he's going to find that there was collusion. And certainly, he has obstructed the justice right before our very eyes. Now, a lot of other things are coming into play. And some people are wondering, what is that going to have to do with this impeachment that I talked so much about? Well, I want you to look at 60 Minutes tomorrow. Now, you know Stormy is going to be on 60 Minutes. And there may be a few others on 60 Minutes. Now, it's not about whether or not he had affairs. It's really about some other things. Where did the $130,000 come from? Now, he may have broken a lot of laws. We can't do anything that we want. We can't just go out and borrow money or take money from people. We can't allow money to be spent without it being documented in the campaign in ways that's acceptable. And so this lying lawyer of his, who talked about he put up $130,000, didn't put up a dime. He did not go and mortgage his house for $130,000 for Trump. And we're going to find out about that. I think Mueller already knows about it. And then there's the other woman that said, I think she got $150,000. Well, I think when Stormy gets through with him, she's going to have a few $1 million. In addition to that, I believe that we're going to find out about not only where the money comes from to pay off people, but we're going to learn a lot about money laundering. We know a lot about Manafort. Manafort was one of the biggest crooks, not in the United States, but in the world, laundering money through one of the Greek banks. What bank was that, Larson? That's the Bank of Cyprus, the Bank of Cyprus. And that's where you're going to find where a lot of the money came through. And then as I was talking to you guys today, and you know how they buy property, the oligarchs, what they do, and they stay in for a short period of time, there's a lot more information about how they launder money. We deserve better than this, ladies and gentlemen. We deserve better than this. You hear how hard these women have worked. We have men in this room who've made tremendous sacrifices. They've gone through all kinds of insults to get where they are today. They'd have to put up with people who did not respect them, who did not want to agree that they were smart and they were talented, and they've been held back from being able to move upward on their jobs and get what they deserve. We've been through all of this. We go through all of this. We still fight for everybody, for justice and equality, and we're going to allow Donald Trump to come and destroy all of this. He's a dangerous man. He's a very dangerous man. Not only is he divisive, and he works at pitting people against each other, he really believes that we're so big and we're so bad that we can threaten anybody that we want to threaten. And he's messing around with Kim Jong-un, who's crazier than he is. And these two are bullying each other, talking about my gun is bigger than your gun, my rocket is faster than your rocket. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't need these two crazy people setting off a war that can destroy us as well as South Korea and other places. And so, it's not only that, it's Iran. You know, being about working for peace in the Middle East is a tough job. And there are people who work very hard at it and been working hard at it for years. And so we finally got to the place where we have Iran in an agreement that they will not continue with the nuclear proliferation that they were involved in. And I know that We have to watch very closely. We have monitors who do that. And I understand that there are reasons not to trust them. And I understand why Israel would be uneasy about the agreement, about this so-called alliance that's been developed. But we have other countries who have come in with us on this. And we're going to continue to watch it closely. But it is not about thinking that you're going to bomb Iran, as may be advised by this newest person that he brought in, right? And what did he say? He didn't even know that he had been appointed, and he didn't know what job he had been appointed for. All he knew is that he heard in the news that he was being appointed as special advisor. And that's the way people who have been fired have been heard about their firing. McCabe didn't know. And the way that they did Tillerson, even though I didn't think Tillerson should be the Secretary of State, but the way that he was talked about by John Kelly, the CEO, was just disrespectful. And so we're having to suffer these kinds of insults every day. And many people think that you have to commit a crime. That's what they think impeachment is. That's not what impeachment is all about. The Constitution gives us the authority to impeach if you have a dishonorable, lying, no good, disrespectful president who endangers the security of the country, who's about himself and not about anybody else. Hell, they impeached Clinton because he lied about an affair. And you tell me that this isn't 100 times worse than what Clinton did? Well, let me just tell you this. I have taken off the gloves. I'm in this fight. And if you will recall, when the Secretary of the Treasury came before me, Mr. Mnuchin, someone that I knew from California, who had foreclosed on 36,000 homes with his bank, and he came before my committee, and I asked him why had he not responded to a letter that I sent him requesting certain information. And as the kids would say, he tried to snow me. He tried to talk about what a great legislator I was. Wasn't about that. And I tried to tell Mr. Mnuchin that it wasn't about that. I just wanted an answer to the letter that I had sent him. And he kept talking, and that's when I popularized reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time, reclaiming my time. And today we're here with this wonderful event, and women who understand our potential and who understand that with a little help, a little encouragement, and a little support, a lot of women will be able to realize their dreams. And so we're all reclaiming our time. And it's time for you to understand this is our time. This is our time. This country needs us. And I want to tell you, Alabama was a red state. And nobody thought that Democrats could take that Senate seat. But what did the black women do in Alabama? They reclaimed their time. And it was because of their 90% support for him that he was able to win the Senate of the United States of America. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I thank you for inviting me here this evening. And I thank the women for understanding that we have a lot to offer. And we have a lot to give. And we are a generous people. And we've been willing to be the nurturers. We've been willing to be the supporters. We've been willing to do everything possible to make sure that our families are strong and that our boys are in good shape and that our girls stay out of trouble. But it's time for us all to do what? Reclaim our time. Thank you very much.
Yes, we need some theme music for that. Yes. Give it up, ladies and gentlemen.
What you want?
This for you, Auntie Maxine.
You know I got it. All I'm asking is for a little respect. Just a little bit.
we hope you enjoyed her words, but we definitely wanted to make sure that when she left here, she knew that we loved her, that we see her as a trailblazer. She had said a few weeks ago, Black people better get real controversy. And so tonight we wanted to thank her for being our voice, for standing up for us, for confronting confrontation fearlessly, and we want to honor you with our award tonight.
You are our first ever Trailblazer Emeritus.
Oh, all right.
So you can reclaim that.
Thank you, and I shall do that. And as you leave here this evening, I just want you to remember, impeach 45. He gets upset every time he hears it. I say it, so I can't forget it. I must say it because I want to keep him upset.
So give one more round of applause to Auntie Maxine. We have like 2 more pieces of business, and then we're gonna party for those of y'all that want to stick around. So the Congresswoman talked about me picking her up from the airport, and I did, and it was an honor and a pleasure. However, what made it pretty interesting was the fact, have you guys ever had like a police escort? You could do anything. And because of that, I would be remiss if I did not acknowledge Detective Medina, who has been by the Congresswoman's side every step of the way. Thank you. And Detective Medina would not have been possible without Chief Foley. Chief Foley, where are you?
Where is it? Did he leave?
He bounced before he got his shine? Okay. Well, he was the one that I reached out to first and said, the Congresswoman is coming and we need a security detail. And he was like, I got you. And he said, I'm sorry.
Hello?
Hello?
Sir.
Excuse me?
Carmen.
Hello? Really? Okay. It would not for Chief Foley, we would not have had Detective Medina. So thank you so much for that.
Can we have co-founder Tracy Walker come up, please?
Welcome, welcome everyone, all these beautiful people. We are so grateful that you guys are all here today. Okay, so now this is gonna be our very, very first Trailblazer Champion Award. And I would like to start off to say hi. My name is Tracy Walker. I'm co-founder of the Voices of Women of Color. The Voices have come such a long way since we started 10 years ago. We've grown, we've learned. One of the most important things we have learned is the importance of friendships. We have many, and we value each and every one of them. Friends are those who stick with you through thick and thin. They see your strength with others may not. They lift you up. For the Voices, Congressman Larson is one of those friends. Yay! With that, we all know what he has done for the 1st District. From the job creation to supporting families, what we know is that Congressman Larson has never forgotten where he came from and has always valued his friendships. Tonight, we wanted to recognize and surprise him. We wanted to thank him for his support of the Voices and his unwavering dedication to the district. So it's my honor to present the first Trailblazer Champion Award to our friend, Congressman Larson.
Well, to be up here with the Blessed Trinity. I'm not talking about the Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost either, here, the Holy Spirit, but Andrea, Therese, and all of you. Janice, you have done such a remarkable job. And how about Maxine Waters? It's truly an honor that the people of this district have given me to serve in the United States Congress. And I hope you got a glimpse this evening of one of the giants. We call her a diva in the United States Congress. And she talked about Kamala Harris. Let me tell you, when Maxine gives you the look, you know you got the look. And I am so proud that she took the time to be here this evening. And she gets it. You heard her talk about all the elected officials, and let me add to the chorus of thanking you for taking the time to be here as well. Because, as she says, you could have been someplace else. But so could she. She is in demand all over this nation. In case you didn't notice, she kind of speaks truth to power. She's undaunted in her pursuit of justice. I couldn't help but think in her remarks how much I miss President Obama. How much I miss the man who brought such dignity and grace and intelligence and persistence. He and Nichelle were the shining star on the hill. That's what we miss. And that's why we're going to work so hard come this November. Let me also say how humbled I am to be in the company of such remarkable women whose accomplishments in listening to you as you accepted the awards were nothing short of remarkable. I was awestruck by all that you do, and I'm humbled to be here and share the same platform as you do. This is, as Maxine said, a historic time for our nation. Troubling times. Times have been worse. 50 years ago, this April, we lost Martin Luther King. And in June, we lost Robert Kennedy. Many of you in this room recall the great pain and agony, but they uplifted us. They got us to reclaim our country. We have to reclaim this country and all the dignity that President Obama gave this great nation of ours. It is not time for us to step back, but to step forward. Today, people marched all over the country, and right here in Hartford, Connecticut, and your mayor stood proudly up and addressed thousands that were on the Capitol lawn of young people who were there. President Kennedy famously said, "The torch has been passed to a new generation." And it has. Now it's up to us, to you, to carry that torch. He also famously said something that Maxine and I think all members of Congress believe in. Let us go forward, leading the land we love, asking God's blessing, but knowing here on earth, God's work is our own. Thank you, and God bless you. So much appreciate this. Thank you, ladies.
All right, so now we're going to acknowledge the Voices of Women of Color sponsors and supporters. The Phoenix Society. "3D Consulting." Arcadius O&G. Artworks Unlimited. Frank Borges. CBIA. Cloud Robinson Development. Caldwell Banker. Express Kitchen and Max Katari. Farmington Bank. Freeman and Companies. Greater Hartford YMCA. Habitat for Humanity. Woo! Catal. Woo! Last Parking. The MDC. Sunset Cafe. Howard K. Hill. Webster Bank. Senator Doug McCauley. Woo! Congressman John Larson. Whims and Fancy. City Hall of Hartford. No, City of Hartford. Excuse me, guys. TJ Food Service. R&D DJ event. Thank you guys for your support. Thank you. We welcome you.
We done? Can I have the K2 Foundation real quickly? Two kids. Katari, yeah, come quickly.
Where are they?
Many of you don't know, but if you read your books on where it says Voices by the Numbers, the Voices of Women of Color partner with the owners. These are the owners of K2 Foundation to do a writing contest at Rawson schools. And after the work, these two wonderful gentlemen picked a winner, and they have their mom won a brand new kitchen at the value of $15,000. So these are who I love. One for you. You want to say something on the mic?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, thank God. Oh my God, thank God it's over. It's been a lot of planning.
It has been
I
a
don't
lot
want
of
it to be over, but yeah.
It's over.
If you want, we have friends from out of town. We're gonna move some tables. We're gonna dance. Larson, we love you. Thank you all for coming. You want to say something else?
Yeah, just thank you all. And again, it's not easy to put this together, but it's not just the three of us.
Oh,
If I
yes.
could have all of the voices of
Thank
women
you.
of color just stand up, come up here.
Come
so
on
we can
up.
all say goodbye.
Which is important because I want
Yes.
to say something about that too. We have, as you've heard from many of us, we have been here now almost 11 years. We're going on 11 years. We're expanding. We're excited. We're bringing in new leadership. Come on, ladies, let's hurry up. We're going statewide, and so many of our friends statewide are here. We're excited about it. If you know some young people who want to be trained to be organizers, to be leaders, thank you. But these are all of the women who make everything happen. Thank you, Angie, for always making a beautiful event and dealing with the spreadsheets. Thank you, ladies. You are amazing. I am nothing without you all. Thank you. Thank you all.
My feet hurt.
My name is J. Stan McCauley, and I do business as Light Source Productions. I provide professional services in the area of strategic video communications. First, what we do is we help you craft your message using what I call the rule of the 5 W's: who, what, when, where, and why. We do event documentation, content acquisition, full-scale productions, editing, and of course distribution through our social media television network. And with social media, video is more important now than it has ever been. Whether you're talking big business, small business, nonprofit, church, or just an individual. Let's say you're planning an event, a wedding, whatever the case may be. But let's say a big event, but no video. And you spent all this time, all these hours to put this event on, and maybe 100, 200 people attend the event. But more important than that is that thousands could attend by watching it on social media. But of course, you don't think about this until after the event is over. You can't afford not to capture it for social media. And despite what people think, I am affordable. Give me a call. Let's plan your next video project and share it with the world on my social media television network. I promise you that you will have the attention of one person, me.